Hey guys. Phew, got here on time. We haven't had power all day, so I missed my check-in this morning. I tried to do it off my phone and then the internet cut out, and so it's been a hectic day. However, I've got a little bit of video uploading, and let's see if this is working. And it is. Excellent. So I'm here on time, and we're just going to sit here quietly and read the next 2 chapters of Jack's story. And then I'm going to go and get some video that I took of the cat and make it into a little meditation, some bird song and meditation. And then I want to... Oh, and I did some preparation, getting the bees ready. I got some preparation getting the bees ready. We're bringing them up here so that they're easier to look after and less exposed to the weather. Yeah. And I'm going to do some writing outlines and questions and research. So I'm going to first read Jack's story. So, thank you for joining me. Let's just settle down and take some time out for the world for the next 20 minutes or so. Planning the musical. Now it's official, Jack said as he signed the contract. He and his friends registered to take part in the school play that his aunt was determined to put on. It was the musical Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. She was in one of her ideology clashes with the headmaster about the suitability of the production. He had become aware early on that his aunt was something of a thorn in the flesh of Meneer de Villiers. The Afrikaans teachers were more than willing to follow his lead in all ways. If Meneer de Villiers said something was thus and such, who were they to argue? In this instance, as Jack expected, Elaine prevailed. The headmaster agreed to allow her to produce the musical. The copyright he had undertaken to apply for had come through. Jack scanned the notice board. Want to tread the boards? Put your best foot forward and attend a meeting of the drama club in the hall at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. All are welcome. That's how Jack came to be sitting with his friends, listening to Elaine. She was about to read through the play. I'm so excited to be here to tell you a bit about the music production we're going to put on this year, she said, scanning the faces of Jack, Dan, Sue, and Adam, the stalwarts from her English first language class. Kate was there too, sitting close to Jack. It's funny, energetic, and clever. Taking part in this show will be a chapter in your lives unlike any other. Here she paused and looked at the students. Her face crumpled, and when she spoke again, it was with a catch in her voice. I had such high hopes for this production, she said. We have the makings of a first-class choir among the present student body, and our geography teacher, Mr. Porter, is eager to help. Also, Mr. Kenworthy from the mathematics department has agreed to be the musical director. I can't believe so few of the students are interested. As the students seated in the front had come out of a sense of duty, not real interest, they looked blankly at her. Elaine stood up. Wait here, she ordered. I'm going to go and check in case some of the students got the venue wrong and are waiting in my classroom. She left the room. Dan looked round at his friends. If you're wondering why there's no students from Emjindeen here, it's because they will never support anything to do with the school, said Dan, repeating comments from a discussion he'd heard his father having with some of his friends. They're determined to take all they can and give nothing. Hold on, Dan, that's a bit harsh, Jack said. I agree, Kate said, looking askance at Dan. Give them a chance. What about the kids from the coloured area? Adam asked. That's where the best singers are from. They will never cooperate, Dan was adamant, confident that his sweeping generalizations were correct. And anyway, they're so unreliable it's better to leave them out. I can't believe I'm hearing all your negative remarks. Kate was incredulous. How can you say such awful things? Now, we only need you to start in on the Indians. Well, no problem there. Dan's voice was patronizing. No Muslim will ever take part in a play that takes its plot from our Bible. Oh, please, Adam spoke up. The stories of Jacob and Joseph are in the Quran. The Quran? Dan looked blank. The Muslim holy book. Dan looked amazed and opened his mouth to speak when in walked Elaine, followed by the headmaster, Meneer de Villiers. Good afternoon, he said. Sit down, sit down. He waved his hand to the students who stood up when he'd entered the room. So how's this meeting of the drama club going? Where are the other students? Jack looked over at his aunt. She made a brave attempt at a laugh and said, It seems as if you read the students' mood accurately after all. The rest of the school has boycotted the musical. Only these 5 turned up. It's so disappointing. She turned to look at the group and was startled by their offended expressions. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that I don't appreciate you all. She laughed as they relaxed, and then, turning to Meneer de Villiers, she said, It seems you were right and I was wrong. There is a serious lack of interest in the project. Jack waited for the crushing remarks that he was sure he was going to hear from the headmaster. Elaine had hinted at the difference of opinion that she and the headmaster had had when she first took the idea to him. Instead, he heard the headmaster say, Since when is it up to the students to dictate what we will or will not do? This is ridiculous. Then he said, I thought you told me that you had talked with the drama group last year and that they supported the idea. Yes, that's true, said his aunt. That's partly why I'm so devastated by this pitiful turnout, present company excluded. I have a feeling there's a subversive spirit at work here. Who would have turned the students against such a school function? What do you say we meet here at the same time tomorrow and see what the response is? In the interim, I will contact some of the parents, and I will count on each of you, he said, looking at Jack and his friends, to persuade at least 2 of your friends to join the club and take part in the musical. He studied the faces that looked up at him in consternation. Come on, accept the challenge, he said with a laugh. Off with you. Remember, I'm relying on you. Get started now. They met at the bicycle shed. How are we going to do this? Adam asked. It's probably not going to work, said Jack, but let's give it a try. We'll each choose 2 students and go and persuade them to be part of the play. And we will tell them they each have to bring 2 more. Yes, Kate agreed. Oh, and I think we must say who we are going after, so that 2 of us don't target the same people. Good idea, said Jack. Then we'll meet here early tomorrow morning, say 7 o'clock, to report if we had any luck. I can't put my aunt through another embarrassing meeting, so if we can't get people to join in, I can warn her to call the whole thing off. What I can't fathom is how everyone voted for the musical last year, and now suddenly everybody boycotts it. Adam looked puzzled. Well, that's what we must figure out. Did you notice the headmaster used the words subversive element? I don't even know what he means by subversive element, Dan said, always the last to understand what was going on. They all looked at him for a moment, and Jack, ignoring the interruption, continued, Could there be one? And if so, why? And who? Kate wondered. When they met again the next morning, part of the mystery was solved. I couldn't get a spark of interest from anyone, Dan said. I bet you didn't try that hard, Adam said. He was feeling smug because he had persuaded 2 kids from Mjindini to show up, although, oddly, they had insisted that they could not be seen. We'll have to wait in the wings, they said. We don't want anyone to see us. That's funny, Sue said. The girls that I approached said the same. Mine wouldn't even show themselves, Dan said. I recruited no one. Did they seem scared to you? Jack asked. There was an outburst of talking as everyone told Jack of the odd behaviour they'd encountered. Did anyone get a name of the person, perhaps, behind the subversive spirit? He asked. Yes, Zachary Shongwe. I'll hunt for him at break, Jack said. Dan and Adam insisted on going with him. Don't. I'll have more success one-on-one with Zachary. No, save your breath, we're coming, Adam said. However, the elusive Zachary was nowhere to be found. As a last desperate attempt at tracking him, the boys went to the lower rugby field, and there he was, at the end of the school fence, down where the school boundary ended and the path to the donga began. It was a well-known shortcut to the township where many of the students lived. What's he doing down there? He seems to be talking to a rather shady-looking man. The boys stared at the stranger. He was wearing a beret pulled down on his forehead and a military-style jacket. Jack gave a shiver. The stranger seemed sinister, and his presence was out of place. Furthermore, he emanated an evil aura. Jack pulled himself up sharply. How could you possibly identify evil that was the length of a rugby field away? He was being ridiculous again, attributing emotions where there were no facts, just his feelings. As the boys watched, they saw the stranger hand a packet to Zachary, who pocketed it. As he turned away, Zachary saw Jack and company. To their amazement, he broke into a run and sped away towards the school, just as the bell, signalling the end of break, rang. Jack looked back to see the stranger, but he disappeared. Jack, the star of the school athletics team, was a runner of note. But in this instance, Zachary had too much of a lead and Jack couldn't catch him. Jack waited for him outside the wooden classroom when the next lesson was over. He was the last student out and was trying to avoid Jack. What were you doing down on the lower rugby field? You know it's out of bounds. And what did that man give you? None of your business. So I'm making it my business, said Jack, giving Zachary a rough push. And if I don't get any answers from you, I am going to report you to the headmaster. Report away. What exactly will you accuse me of? Intimidating students who want to take part in the play, for starters, said Jack. That is crazy. As if I would do that. And even if it was true, how could you prove it? Jack felt a tide of frustration rise within him. He stepped up to Zachary and stared into his eyes. Prove to me you didn't by coming to the meeting of the drama club today after school. Then, no, I don't think I will. Then I will report you for being out of bounds. I know you are treading on thin ice with the authorities, so anything that could potentially smirch your name will be investigated. Grounds for throwing you off the rugby team. You know what the coach says about the team's behaviour? It will make it uncomfortable for you, even if it comes to nothing. Jack could see his words had hit home. All right, Zachary said ungraciously. I'll do it, but I won't forget this. It's blackmail. Your words, not mine, Jack said. I'll see you at drama club. That afternoon, there was a much bigger turnout, and Elaine was so glad the musical was being supported at last that she did not comment on the rather sulky student body and the lack of enthusiasm to volunteer for parts. She had been certain that Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was going to be a hit with students and parents alike, but now she was having serious doubts. Chapter 24. Zachary speaks up. "What are you up to?" asked Jack, unexpectedly coming across Zachary in the bicycle shed. There was something furtive about his movements, as if he was up to no good. "None of your damn business," Zachary growled. "Just bugger off." "Can't do that," Jack returned. "Miss Summerfield asked me to come and find you. She wants to see you now in her classroom." "You can just tell Miss Summerfield." He didn't get any further. Jack pounced on Zachary and, catching him unawares, knocked him into the ground. A small white packet dropped from Zachary's hand. "Ha! Got you!" Jack yelled, retrieving the packet. It seemed to contain a white grainy substance. "So, it's you dealing drugs. I suspected it when I saw you down the rugby field with that strange man, and then when you tried to run away from me." "What the hell are you talking about?" Zachary picked himself up off the ground and rounded on Jack, his arms tense and his fists clenched. "You don't know anything." He swiveled and balanced on his toes, elbows pulled back, about to punch Jack. Just then Mr. Porter walked past. "Ah, there you are, Zachary," he said in an impatient voice. "What's taking so long? All I asked was for you to bring me the atlas you borrowed. Where is it?" "I'm sorry, sir," Zachary said. "I came to get it from my bicycle bag, but when I pulled it out, my lunchbox fell out and the contents spilled all over the floor." He looked over at Jack with an expression of unholy glee and said in a sarcastically grateful voice, "Jack was helping me. He picked up my little packet of salt." "Well, hurry up," Mr. Porter said, "and Miss Summerfield wants to see you. Get a move on. You, Jack, go with him and make sure he gets there, please." The boys walked off, Mr. Porter panting and puffing behind them, struggling to keep up with the fit youngsters. "Salt? You really expect me to believe that?" Jack said, and he opened the packet, put his finger in and tasted the powder. Zachary sneered at him. "Idiot! You think all people deal drugs, don't you?" He spat. Jack stared at Zachary. A flash of insight illuminated his mind. He was making assumptions in a way that he despised in others. Shame engulfed him, like the water in a shower that hit the top of the head and then trickled down his body. Jack knew when to concede. "I'm sorry, mate. You got me there. What can I say? I'm an idiot. It's just that I've been hearing a lot of talk about drugs lately, and it's got to me." Zachary snorted ungraciously and stamped on ahead, still feeling churlish and not wanting to accept Jack's apology. When they got to the classroom, Jack knocked on the door. "Hi, Miss Summerfield," he said. "I've brought Zachary to speak with you, as you requested." Jack gave his aunt an inquiring look. Should he go, so the two of them could talk privately, or should he stay for support? She gave him a nod, which he still could not interpret, so he stepped unobtrusively to the side to allow Zachary to step forward. "Oh, yes, Zachary. I wanted to chat with you about the musical. It's a huge cast, and I need all students to be prepared to take part." Zachary glared at her with thinly veiled aggression. "What's that got to do with me?" he asked, a sullen look on his face. He crossed his arms and looked down at her. "In my culture, we do not perform musical plays." Elaine wrinkled her brow. "That's not quite accurate," she said, meeting his gaze. He immediately turned his face and looked away. Music and song and storytelling are an integral part of your culture, she continued. In fact, one could argue that they are the very vehicle by which your culture has been handed down from generation to generation. Zachary made a growling sound and stared down at his foot. I admit that not many actual musicals have made their way to Barberton, but let me assure you, there have been quite a few successful musicals with South African casts. Don't patronize me, miss. I know a lot more about my culture than you do, and I have no wish to be involved in your production. Zachary glared at her belligerently and shuffled his feet as if he couldn't wait to get away from her. She pushed ahead determinedly. Do you feel the same way about English as a whole? Why are you so against this play when you seem to be enjoying Macbeth so much? Elaine had been amazed at the depth and grasp of the ideas that Zachary's recent essay had shown. She had touched a chord. Zachary looked up, still not meeting her eyes. Macbeth is different, he confessed, reluctantly. His voice and demeanour changed imperceptibly. I really love Macbeth. It's timeless to me in a way. I can imagine an ambitious, driven Zulu chief with a strong wife who is not afraid to speak out, behaving in the exact same way as Macbeth did, and with the same result. The silence that followed his words almost cracked with tension. Jack stared at Zachary, thinking, yes, that's so true. I could debate these ideas. Elaine felt as if she was on the brink of a breakthrough. An exultant wave chased through her head. So strong was the emotion that engulfed her. She made an effort to speak quietly. Couldn't you try to approach the story of Joseph from the Hebrew history in the same way? Sibling rivalry is a universal theme, just as you point out ambition is. And all the people in South Africa, in our present strange circumstances, feel like wanderers inhabiting a strange land. Black, white, Indians and coloureds, not to mention the refugees who seem to be flooding in. She was immediately aware that she had erred, and her words had broken the spell that had momentarily enclosed them. Zachary stiffened, and his face fell once more into the sullen, sulky lines with which she was familiar. He fixed his eyes on the ground. Jack looked at his watch, and with consternation he said, Zachary and I have cricket practice. We'll be late if we don't move now. He started for the door. Well, please think about it, Elaine said with a huge smile, looking at Zachary. Just know it would make a huge difference to the whole dynamics of this play if I have found my Reuben. If I have found my Reuben. The words hung in the air for Zachary. Miss Summerfield was looking at him inquiringly, with a light-hearted lift to her voice. It was not the usual far-away token gaze that he was used to from the whites that he knew, that landed somewhere between his left ear and a far-distant horizon, denying his personhood. Suddenly, Zachary understood he was being trusted and valued, and he was being asked to identify with the school and its aspirations. Later, he would try to pinpoint when the feeling that he was pointlessly butting his head in a hostile universe had changed. He considered the rugby match when he had played for the school. That was part of it, but no, that was not the moment. Then he'd see in his mind's eye an image of Jack making for the door, his face anxious. He'd smell the chalk and the dust of the classroom, and he'd hear the cadence of Miss Summerfield's voice. These were sensations that would remind him of this epic moment in his life. Zachary had lived in them. Zachary had lived in a them and us world for so long that at first he was not aware of the two worlds colliding. It was when he lifted his eyes that his attention was caught by Charlie's poem, which his teacher had printed in huge letters on the rough plaster of the classroom between the two windows. The poem he had read many times, but which suddenly had a whole new meaning. Man is a great wall builder. Zachary could relate to that impregnable wall that did not allow love to walk in. Come on, we're going to be late, and then we're going to have to do laps, Jack said, and together the two boys jogged down the corridor towards the cricket pitch. Phew, awesome. Awesome. All right, okay. Well, guys, there we go. That was the chapters 20, 23 and 24. I think I worked it out yesterday. And it's about 2 weeks left. That seems a long time. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. Hope you have a wonderful day. Okay, bye.